Okay, I'll admit it. I was wrong about Solid. Here is what happened. A few weeks back, I posted a video comparing React to Solid, and, looking back at it, I might have been a bit too subjective. I've been saying for a while now that Solid has a lot of potential, but, silly me, I was still believing that the library was not yet ready for prime time, especially compared to established alternatives such as React. In that video, I was arguing that the real power behind solutions such as Vue or React lies in their user bases and ecosystems. While this is true, you guys made it pretty clear in the comments that Solid's third-party library support is fairly decent these days. So, by the looks of it, not only is Solid slimmer, cleaner and faster than React, but it also reached a maturity level which makes it production ready. So let's spend a couple of minutes playing around with some code and reviewing what Solid is and isn't. Meta frameworks are a dime a dozen these days, and we got to the point where you can't really build an app without server-side rendering support, API routes, or an opinionated project structure. I've been singing the prayers of Astro on this channel in the past, but Solid has Start, its own meta framework now in beta. Solid Start draws inspiration from various other players in the space, follows a lot of the best practices, and, all in all, is a great starter for your SolidJS project. The file system-based routing makes it really easy to build both dynamic and static pages. All these can be indexed by Google thanks to the various rendering strategies and the seamless support to alter the HTML head information. In the past 15 years, we went through a lot of phases when handling the client-server communication. We started with HTML forms sending synchronous post or put requests to the server. Then, when Ajax was released, everybody switched to async communication by leveraging libraries like Axios or more recently the Fetch API. While powerful, async communication has a few drawbacks, and we'll see in a second how a library like TanStack Query can fix some of them. After 15 years of async and promises ruining programming careers, we are now back to square one, with most meta frameworks pushing the idea of server actions and plain old HTML forms to exchange data. Anyhow, you got the idea. Solid Start follows the industry standards and, once it is out of beta, will be a good choice even for production apps. While we are here, I want to briefly touch on the TypeScript subject, since this is a must in any project. Solid Start comes with TS support out of the box, so you can expect all the usual benefits a type system brings into your development workflow. Okay, now let's briefly touch on SolidJS itself. You should be familiar with its elevator pitch by now. First of all, it is lightweight, weighing only 7 KB minified and gzipped. In comparison, Vue sits at around 20, React at 40, and Angular at an impressive 110 KB. In an HTML-first, mobile-first web era, these bytes really matter. Solid is also truly reactive and leverages the now popular Signals architecture to efficiently execute DOM updates and side effects. As a result, it is performant, ranking extremely well in all speed benchmarks. Finally, I will argue that Solid offers one of the best developer experiences out there. I know, this is subjective, but with the use of popular ideas such as function components, hooks and JSX, developing in Solid is as close as it gets to developing in Vanilla.js. Solid is often sold as a better alternative to React, and I fully agree with that. Next, let's address one of the main pain points of web development: reinventing the wheel when building UIs. A good component library, or in fancier terms a UI kit, is a must in any project. Coming from a React background, I can honestly say I love Ant design, and I was reluctant to believe I'd find a similar solution in the SolidJS space. Fortunately, you guys proved me wrong. On one hand, options like DaisyUI are extremely powerful and framework agnostic. Besides the obvious convenience of a UI toolkit, Daisy is built on top of Tailwind CSS, gaining even more popularity points. Just like with Astro, I prefer framework agnostic solutions for all the obvious reasons. So, I think it's safe to say, DaisyUI has great chances of being added in all my future projects. However, let's imagine you want the UI kit tailored for the Solid ecosystem. In this case, it turns out Kobalte is a good enough solution. It provides a set of low-level UI components and primitives, which can be the foundation for your design system implementation. The collection of components is not really complete, especially if you compare it with some of the more established solutions, but it should get the job done in most cases. If you are coming from a React or Vue background, besides a UI kit, It is fairly common to add a state management solution in your project. Vue has options like Pinia, and React has too many options to keep track of. On top of that, small independent libraries such as nano stores are always a good option for your project. Well, despite the small size, Solid comes with a built-in signal-based store solution, so no need to worry about third-party libraries here. To recap, Solid has a good meta framework, supports TypeScript, performs better than the alternatives, has good UI kit support, and comes with state management out of the box. What else is there? Well, making calls to a server, it's a fairly common scenario, right? Again, Solid offers some basic support by default, and the use resource hook is pretty awesome. However, we can do much more than that. React Query is a popular library because of the improvements it brings to the async nature of communication with the server. The good news is that TanStack offers support for SolidJS as well. Why would you need this dependency when the Fetch API is good enough these days? Well, in the real world, sending a request and receiving a response is not the end of the communication cycle. You should consider error handling, deduping requests accessing the same data, keeping data in sync, or optimizing for performance via pagination or lazy loading. I enjoy reinventing the wheel as much as any other dev, but I have to admit it's never fun to think about the problems TanStack Query is already solving for us. So here we are. I admit I was wrong, and we have more than enough to reliably use Solid in production. On top of everything else, the library is enjoying a lot of attention with frequent releases, rapidly grows in popularity, and is promising a version 2 release in the near future. Let me know in the comments what other third-party libraries you are using in your Solid project, and until next time, thank you for watching.